In 1909, the Arizona Gazette published a story that should have rewritten human history. It detailed a massive underground cavern discovered deep within the Grand Canyon, filled with Egyptian artifacts, Oriental hieroglyphics, and mummies of unknown origin. But within weeks, the discovery vanished. The Smithsonian Institution denied any knowledge of the explorer or the cave. The story was redacted. But a century later, the data doesn't fit the narrative. What were they hiding? Today, we explainify the truth. The story centers on G.E. Kincaid, an intrepid explorer and archaeologist. Kincaid was working on a solo expedition for the Smithsonian, navigating the treacherous waters of the Colorado River. His goal was mundane, geological surveying. But miles into the canyon, Kincaid noticed something anomalous, strange stains on the canyon wall, suggesting mineral runoff from an unknown source. He followed the trail high above the river toward a sheer cliff face. High on the cliff, nearly 1,500 feet above the water, he found an entrance, obscured, ancient. Once inside, the geology changed. This wasn't a natural formation. This was engineering. A passage cut with mathematical precision, stretching hundreds of feet into the living rock. Kincaid reported encountering a chamber 100 feet in diameter, radiating smaller passages like a wheel. At the center, a statue, not Native American, but resembling a seated cross-legged figure, bodhisattva style, worshipped by carvings of Egyptian or Tibetan deities. For several days, Kincaid cataloged his impossible find. He documented weapons, metallic artifacts of unknown composition, copper instruments that defied explanation, and crucially, a central burial vault where mummies, darker than any local people, were entombed in alcoves. He packed his samples and reported to the Smithsonian. Then, the silence. The Smithsonian publicly denied knowing Kincaid. The expedition, if it existed, was officially redacted from their record. Mainstream archaeology dictates that no Old World civilization reached the Americas before the Vikings, but the artifacts described by Kincaid break this timeline. He mentioned finding large metallic vessels and perfectly hardened copper tools, implying metallurgy far beyond what local cultures possessed in any era. How did this material find its way to the remotest canyon on Earth? The physical properties of these weapons are an anomaly our established narrative can't explain. Even more disturbing were the mummies. Kincaid claimed to have located over 100 individuals entombed in the specific style of ancient Egyptian high burial. If true, this is the final proof: ancient transoceanic contact. The established academic model would collapse. A civilization capable of sailing to America, navigating the Grand Canyon, and establishing a massive underground complex requires technology and knowledge that should not exist in that era. But the complexity of the engineering itself is an anomaly. Mainstream history ignores this, focusing only on artifacts. Kincaid described a structure that suggests not simple settlement, but a massive temple citadel, suggesting a civilization of millions in a place that has always been considered unpopulated. The engineering void here is as deep as the canyon itself.
Why would a globally respected institution like the Smithsonian redact a massive historical discovery? The standard answer is straightforward: to maintain the existing linear timeline of human progress. The Grand Canyon discovery breaks that line. But in 2026, alternative theories point to a deeper motive. Alternative data clusters suggest the Smithsonian, originally established with renegade funding, has always had a mandate to redact any discovery that proves humanity was advanced far earlier than allowed. Smithsonian's founder, James Smithson, was an enigmatic figure himself, a rogue academic who never visited America but left his entire fortune to build the institution. Was the Smithsonian's mandate, from its inception, to collect forbidden knowledge and explainify it away? To act as the digital buffer between established history and the redacted anomaly? Even access to information about James Smithson's archive is a redacted void. Data miners in 2026 found that all non-digital records of Smithson's original intentions for the Institute were accidentally destroyed in a suspicious fire, decades before Kincaid's report. We are left only with the redacted data they choose to reveal. But the story gets stranger. If the cave is just a legend, why is its entire region in the Grand Canyon, specifically a massive cluster of Egyptian-named peaks like the Tower of Ra and Cheops Pyramid, a tightly restricted no-fly zone? This specific region, miles away from standard tourist trails, has been off-limits for decades. According to multiple reports from hikers, any approach is met by unmarked military-grade security. Why? Standard answers cite environmental protection or safety, but satellite mapping in 2026 revealed a final impossible anomaly. The restricted zone shows evidence of subterranean geothermal heat signatures that do not match any known volcanic or tectonic activity. These anomalies match the specific area where Kincaid described encountering the citadel. The heat suggests active technology or massive power generation, thousands of feet below the redacted ground. Local legends of the Hopi people add a chilling echo. They describe their ancestors emerging from a great underworld, the Fourth World, through an opening called the Sipapu, often associated with a location deep within the Grand Canyon. They describe people of light and power. Could Kincaid's citadel be the very source map of this underworld migration? The Grand Canyon legend, if real, forces a terrifying reckoning. It proves a global connected civilization existed before the current ice age was complete. It means our history books are not factual data, but redacted narratives. In 2026, data suggests we're on the verge of a data leak that will expose this forbidden timeline. The Grand Canyon's geothermal anomaly is just the first glitch. But perhaps the redaction is a defense. Mainstream archaeology must maintain the simple narrative, or the societal structures built on that timeline crumble. If a civilization far advanced than ours flourished and vanished, it forces us to ask, what disaster wiped them from the data, and when will it return? We redact knowledge not to protect the timeline, but to protect ourselves from the void. Grand Canyon redaction remains history's deepest data void. Kincaid, his mummies, and his Egyptian geometry exist only in the ghost data of a redacted legend. But the no-fly zones and the geothermal anomaly exist in our reality. The canyon is a maze. Until we have the courage to explore the off-limits, the true story of humanity will remain redacted. We live in a curated data loop. We are taught to ignore the glitches and trust the narrative. But at the Explainify, our mandate is clear. We look past the redacted. We analyze the anomaly. We bridges the data void. Knowledge finally explained. The Grand Canyon is just one chamber in history's redacted labyrinth. Join us in our next briefing, where we move from the desert to the ocean. We examine the forbidden geometry of the Vinland map and prove that history is still refusing to acknowledge who really discovered America 500 years before Columbus and 500 years after the Grand Canyon Egyptians. We Explainify the truth.